Hey gamers! Welcome back to another episode of Chris Neo. And for today's episode, we're going to be talking about a little game here that ended up changing the video game industry forever. Now, of course, every kid recognizes Mario these days, and they probably know of the Super Mario Bros. Game that he came from. But what they don't realize is the impact that this little game had on the industry back in the day. Now, Super Mario Bros. Is a very iconic game, and today's generation might pick it up and go, well, what's the big deal? I don't understand. What they don't realize, however, is when this game came out, it changed everything. To put it simply, there was nothing else like it in the market when this game debuted in the US. So when it hit the ground running. Now, the video game industry in the United States was suffering from the video game crash of 1983. And of course, if you play all the popular games in that day, you'll see these games were very repetitious. It was pretty much one board or series of boards, one goal, and after you finish that goal, you advance in the levels. And of course, you did this over and over again until the game became so difficult that you would just die and the game would end. And if you compare Super Mario Bros. With any of the games in the arcade at that time, they don't hold a candle to the game. So the Nintendo was released in the fall of 1985, and this was done to kind of capitalize on all the Christmas sales for that season. And of course, I wasn't aware of this video game system until the following year, my birthday of 1986, and I ended up getting that for my birthday. And the big games that came out around that time were Ghosts and Goblins. Now, Ghosts and Goblins sucked. I ended up getting that and Super Mario Bros. Even though I didn't like Ghosts and Goblins, the one game I really enjoyed was Super Mario Bros. What made this game so great was that every section of this game contains some kind of hidden treasure and unique item to find. I mean, just take this first little scene in the first level. There's 3 question mark blocks that we have to hit. We have no idea what's inside, and when we hit them, ooh, cool, there's coins and mushrooms. And of course, on top of that, you get to squish enemies, and then you can jump on certain pipes in this level, push down, and then be transported to a whole new underground level. I mean, wow! This was a first for gamers, because little hidden things like this just did not exist in gaming back then. I mean, they even had hidden tricks with the flagpole at the end. If you time your jump just right, will determine if you get fireworks or not. I remember the first time I got fireworks, I was like, how the hell did that happen? Little did I realize it was the counter. Genius. So everything about this game was cool. The power-ups were cool, jumping on enemies was cool, and it was all new and different. And even the layout of these stages were very different. For example, in the first world, there are 4 different levels. And of course, once we get to the end of the 4th level, we see the final boss, and we kill him, and then we're treated to the final scene, correct? No, wrong, because we're told that the princess is in another castle. Now, in every other single game released up until this point, you would have to restart from the beginning of the game and replay the exact same levels over again. A great example of this is Donkey Kong. If you're able to clear out all 4 levels, they send you back to the first one to do it all over again. And of course, all the games did this back then. But not Super Mario Bros. Because once you cleared that final boss, you're not whisked away to the beginning of the game again. Nope, you're treated to a whole new world. And it was innovations like these that would forever change video games. And the coolest thing about this game was that the further you got into it, the more surprises you could uncover. We find vines that lead up to a coin world, opportunities for a 1-up, cheeps that come up from the bottom of the screen to try to kill you, and these old platform things that's kind of an homage to the old Donkey Kong games. Very cool. And of course, all this leads you back to another castle, to another main boss to defeat, and to another toad that tells you your princess is in another castle. Son of a bitch. And of course, we're off to World 3, which takes us to a night scene so that we can moonlight our way through the Mushroom Kingdom. Well, isn't that just frickin' wonderful? Now, perhaps the single most awesome Easter egg of this game was the ability to travel outside of the playing field. It took me a long time to realize that, hey, wait a minute, in World 1-2, you can actually travel on top of the world. Can you imagine doing that in games like Dig Dug? Nope, it just didn't happen. In fact, I guess you could say with the game of Mario, it was actually poking fun of all the things you can't do in the other games. And then, of course, doing this leads you to a warp pipe that leads you to other worlds. I can't exactly remember how I found this out, but when I did, I was totally blown away. This just did not happen in video games. And it was things like this that made this game so iconic. Now, of course, since this game was such a success, they ended up making a sequel called Super Mario Bros. 2. And of course, when I made a review of this game over a decade ago, a lot of people missed the point. I've always thought that this game was very iconic. It's just when you compare it to the very first installment and all the cool features that it contained, it didn't make sense. These games did not match up. In the first game, you're smashing Goombas, hitting question mark blocks, and killing Bowser. And of course, in this installment, it takes all that and throws it away. Now we're going through these little doors, picking up enemies, and throwing vegetables? Did I miss something here? This is not a sequel that I was expecting when I wanted to play Super Mario Bros. And of course, when I found out that this game was not Super Mario Bros. When it was released in Japan, but a game called Doki Doki Panic, it about blew my mind. When they brought this game to the US, all they did was replace all the Doki Doki Panic characters with Super Mario characters, and thus slap the Super Mario logo on it. And yes, I'm going to reiterate, this is an iconic game, but what a slap in the face to people that absolutely loved Super Mario Brothers. Now we're treated to this? It didn't make sense. But of course, all that was fixed when they came out with Super Mario Bros. 3. I remember when this game was about to come out, people were going nuts over this game. If you wanted to rent this game from a rental house, there were waiting lists that were months long just to play this game. You could not find it at retail, there was no eBay, there was no Amazon. If you found this game, you pretty much had gold. You could not find this game anywhere. The fact of the matter was that this game was considered iconic even before it was released, because it was the perfect successor to Super Mario Bros. 1. What made things even worse was that all these video game magazines at the time were granted exclusive coverage of this game ahead of everyone else. And man, they played up to the public like you wouldn't believe. And all us kids were just foaming at the mouth waiting for this game to drop. It looked amazing. Because this game was hidden with a plethora of new Easter eggs to find in this game, just like the first installment. I can't tell you how many hours I spent going through every stage, just hitting every single block you could reach, looking for hidden blocks, because there are Easter eggs in every single stage. It was insane! This game gave us everything we loved about the first game, as well as new graphics, and new power-ups, and even the warps were back. I mean, what more could you ask for? And the answer is nothing, because this was the perfect Super Mario game that we were hoping for since the first installment. Oh yeah. These games were incredible, and the impact that it had on kids was very, very powerful. Now fast forward a couple years later, and this little device right here was released called the Game Genie. And of course, Galoob, the creator of the Game Genie, really butt heads with Nintendo because Nintendo didn't want their games hacked with something like this, the Game Genie. And of course, the Game Genie would hack the game in ways we never dreamed of. And as in the case with Super Mario Bros., there are literally 100 codes which will do just that. Now in this game, we all know that there are 8 worlds to travel to in order to beat the game. But with this device, did you know you can access a 9th? Huh? Yep, insert this little code right here, and you'll be whisked away to World 9-1. What the hell? Holy hell, look at this level! A green castle, green blocks, and you get to swim through it? I had no idea this level was just sitting in this game here. Talk about trippy, just look at all these colors. Neon reds, neon blues, and of course we love the neon colors. Haha, yeah. After swimming through this level for a few seconds, the game freezes? Oh, come on, what the hell? Oh, let's try this again. Maybe if we try speeding through this level, we can get a little further in it. God, this level's so cool. I hope it doesn't freeze on me this time. Come on. Ah, poop. Ah, well. Well, considering that this level is not even supposed to be in this game, that's probably why it's freezing up. But it's so cool to know that there's a World 9 locked somewhere in this game. Now, the cool thing about the Game Genie is there are all kinds of other worlds we can unlock in Super Mario Bros. And next time, we're going to do just that. So make sure you're back here next time, guys, and we're going to explore Super Mario Bros. In a way you've never seen before. Make sure you check out the official sponsor of the Chris Neo Show, which is RetroGameChester.com, where you can get Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy games, and more delivered to your doorstep in a monthly video game box. And let me just say that I've been a subscriber to this service for about 2 years now, and I've loved every single month getting a new box on my doorstep every month. What's cool about the system is you can set up a wish list, you can set up games that you already have so you don't get duplicates sent to your house. Just a very, very cool system. So make sure you check that out because it is a subscription box that I totally recommend.